I just wanted to hop on Monday morning or Monday afternoon because it's Monday and I know that Mondays can be overwhelming, and I felt like talking about how sometimes we complicate or overcomplicate things. It felt like a very Monday topic. So I want to tell you about Terry's son, who, in her words, was a holy terror in the classroom, at home, everywhere. If she took him out, it was never ending. She didn't even want to get up in the morning because his behavior was just so off the wall. And on top of that, he had dyslexia and all kinds of other reading difficulties. So there was just no give and no break in terms of what she was dealing with behavior and so forth. And, she had done the whole trying medication and had been to all these different doctors and specialists and had taken parenting courses. And my goodness, that woman had read every parenting book going, as well as books on addressing dyslexia and so forth. And she was really burnt out and really, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, felt like a failure as a mom and just at her absolute wit's end. So, her concern, why she came to see me, was her son started she started noticing a lot of side effects from the medication he was taking, nosebleeds and just not having any appetite till like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening. He'd lost a lot of weight and he wasn't even hitting puberty as a result, all that type of stuff that I know a lot of my clients see and so forth. And I want to ask you this, and the same thing that I asked Terry, and I ask a lot of my clients who are really overwhelmed and feel like it has to be super complicated, is can it be more simple than you realize? And Terry definitely got her back up and was a little bit I don't want to say insulted, but kind of like defensive. Said, no, we've tried all this stuff and it's super complicated and so forth. And so I'm just going to tell you really briefly about a situation. I'm not going off track, I promise, with a neighbor whose furnace wasn't working. And her husband looked at everything, just everything that could be going wrong with the furnace. And to them, it was clear or evident that they needed to get a new furnace. And they had even called two different companies in to see how much it would cost. And they were really discouraged. They said the furnace wasn't that old. They didn't understand and so forth. And to be clear, these companies hadn't actually come in yet. But anyway, in the meantime, my husband had gone over, and he's not handy, but he took a look. And my husband, being very pragmatic, checked to see if there was batteries in the thermostat. And there was no batteries in the thermostat. It was as simple as that. The furnace wasn't working because of the type of furnace it was. The thermostat batteries had to be working for it to be able to turn on and fluctuate and so forth. And of course, they felt so utterly stupid and canceled these other companies and said, yeah, we don't need you to come anymore. And I thought, man, do we ever do that a lot in life, where we complicate situations and we think it has to be really complicated, or it's really confusing, or it's got to be really hard, or it's going to take, with a lot of my clients, I think it's going to take years and years and years. And this is, their kids get that mindset too, because even the teachers and the people in their life tell them you're going to have to work really hard all your life because you have this learning disorder or this reading disability or whatever. And so, we just take that on. And my suggestion to Terry was, is it possible that it could be something simple? Like, have you looked at considering what is his diet, what kind of impact that could be having on his ADHD and dyslexia? And, again, she got really defensive and said, he eats pretty healthy and this is way more complicated than diet and dyslexia. And I said to her, I get that, but I also want you to know, that a lot of my clients sometimes are on that wavelength as well. When they first start a program, they're excited to get into the brain training, not really convinced that diet is going to make that big of a difference. And it's always my clients who have children with dyslexia who are the most blown away. The ADHD clients who have kids who have ADHD are usually a little more open to this can be a factor. But when it comes to dyslexia, it's like, no, this is a brain organization issue. It's structural. There's no way that diet's going to have that kind of effect. And I can't tell you how often, I would say at least twice a month, I get an email saying, oh my goodness, we can't believe how much better he's blending sounds and not reversing letters. And I'm not suggesting that diet is a cure-all for dyslexia. But what I am saying is, do we need to look at something more simple as at least a first step, and be more open-minded to that yes, something as simple as looking to see if the batteries are working before we call companies to buy a whole new furnace? Or is it something as simple as, yeah, the behavior is completely insane, just like the whole furnace isn't working because of something so small like the batteries, or something so small like certain foods that your child might be reacting to that you don't know, or deficiencies, or just, recognizing that our whole biochemistry, what makes these neurotransmitters that keep our kids focused and calm or able to concentrate and learn, they come from food. It's nutrients like vitamins and minerals and so forth that create these chemicals. So just wanted to put that out there. And I'm not saying that it's all food. Because if you've been following me for a while, you know that I take a very multi-therapy approach. And I don't believe, there's not too often that I have clients where it's a cure, one thing is a cure-all. But we don't give these simple things enough credit, because for so long we are in this situation where we really take food for granted, in terms of we don't have to give it much thought. It can be prepackaged and so forth. Or maybe we cook it, and we don't realize the impact that it can have on our brain chemistry, and how vital certain nutrients or how detrimental sensitivities can be, because we're not, as a culture, and not that anyone ever was, trained in this. So it's just not something that we think of being the obvious. And the other thing is that because learning and behavior disorders are so commonplace today, it's so easy to just be like, well, all the kids are eating this and my kid has this problem and so forth. And it's just, how he is. So my suggestion to you is, think of the simple things. Let me know in the comments below, what are some simple things that you might be overlooking, or simple things that you haven't tried because you've dismissed it, thinking that's too simple. I've done it. I've done it with my own health. I still do it sometimes, thinking that's ridiculous. Drinking enough water. So what are some simple things that you possibly could look at or look into and give some serious consideration and commitment to see if that can help your child improve and so forth. So just keep in mind, keep it simple before you start diving into the more complex things and trying more let's say, in-depth approaches and so forth. So let me know in the comments below, do you think you complicate stuff? Has this ever been your experience? And what are some of the simple things that you do with your child that does seem to work? You might not be a fix-all. I know, for me with my child and so many people that I talk to, having like a good sleep routine, whether your kid is neurotypical or not, them getting enough sleep is absolutely vital. So thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments below what your experiences are with simple solutions. Thanks for listening.